We are live. Well, welcome, and happy Lunar New Year, or as the Chinese say, 恭喜发财. It's the year of the ox. I'm the year of the dragon, so I'm not sure what ox is, but anyway, wanted to give kudos to that. Particularly, we're celebrating later this evening, being my husband is of Asian descent. Happy Valentine's weekend. You're going to celebrate hopefully the whole weekend. Hopefully you celebrate love the whole year, every day and every moment. And we've kind of had the last couple episodes really this month about love, as my granddaughter does when I say goodbye to her. We have a fabulous guest, Jenn Colmenares. Did I pronounce it right? Colmenares?
Yes, Colmenares. I don't roll my R's, so.
Okay, I didn't think I rolled it. I don't even know how to roll it. Colmenares.
Right.
And Jenn I caught Jenn on the Edge radio, which she is on there quite often. And I was really just taken aback, just kind of a soul or synergistic soul sister on some of her concepts and thinking. And I thought she would be perfect guest to talk about, well, love and how love starts at home. And I really am interested to see what she has to say, because you know what? Love is about self-care. Yes, it's about sharing love with others and showing others that we love them and loving what we do, as our guest last week talked about, Rachel, loving, what you do every day. But really, love's, for you to have that plentifulness, you need to have your cup full, and that starts with self-care or self-love, and it starts at home. So that's going to be our topic today. So stay tuned, or if you can't, watch us on the replay, and please share and show us some love by making a comment. Even just saying hi helps those Facebook algorithms. Sharing with others who need to hear this message is another way for you to show and share your love. So without any further delay, Jenn, welcome so much. Tell our viewers a little bit about Jenn.
Oh, there's so much there. Where to start?
I know, right?
I loved your intro and the chat. It's the Lunar New Year. And let's just start there, because last night was a new moon. And I mean, how beautiful to a new moon, and love is in the air. I'm a tiger, so as far as the Chinese New Year goes, it's for me, because I'm also a Pisces.
Yep, I think we're Pisces sister. Well, no, I'm on the cusp. That's right. My birthday's next week.
You and my daughter, because my daughter's the 18th.
That's right. Yes.
So we're all kind of in that. We're all kind of in it right now. Yes.
And that's why, Jenn just has, her and I chatted, I chat with most of my guests prior to see if we're a good fit, good energetically, et cetera. And, Jenn just has a plethora of background that really is synergistically, taking us into really this whole topic. Her and I have some similar background. I've been a trained massage therapist. She has Reiki background, as well as massage, I believe, right? Well, Reiki is a form of, yes. And she's a business coach and life coach. So, those are short words for a lot of topics, right? Helping folks, helping those who need navigate through this human experience, the best way that we can.
I love that human experience. It's not, it's all encompassing. It's not just, I had a blog the other day that I wrote, and it was on, you can never say, I know how you feel. Because you will never know how anybody else ever feels. And then I had a conversation over tea.
That is profound, isn't it? And so many of us, Jenn, do that I think we don't know what else to say. We're trying to be compassionate. And so we're like, I know how you feel, but that's really, a time for a pregnant pause, because we are unduplicatable miracles, each and every one of us, in our concept of reality is unique, like a thumbprint, like a snowflake.
Yeah.
So how do we navigate
as a snowflake or a thumbprint? Like, there's so much dimension there. And I guess, kind of where you're going is, how do you take all of that and make it, especially women, I'm finding, I don't really know what your audience base is. Mine is men and women, entrepreneurs.
Yep. Anybody who, this started out, Cat's Home Chat, all things real estate, which I've got to have Jeff, my proctor and business partner, change, because it's really all things home. And all things home gives me a much broader base, because I have such a passion for, what do we do in our home? We live, we breathe, we have relationships, we have arguments, we have tears, we have the human experience. And so, yes, many of my audience are realtors, because we do talk about things, real estate, navigating the sale of a home, the purchase of a home, decorating a home, designing a home, color, all of those things. And so much more. Those are the kind of the tangible, physical things. Anybody who lives or breathes is our audience.
Right.
Yep. So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so how do you, in your dealings, as a coach, as a host on a radio show, how do you navigate helping folks, pardon me, especially when through your admission, we can't say, I know how you feel, but there's still some sort of a commonality as human beings that I would imagine you use as a barometer to help guide folks into being their best self. What would you say to that?
Get in touch with yourself. It doesn't matter if you're a man or our whole reality has really shifted in this new time. It's a new evolution. 2021. And what does that look like? What do we want it to look like? That's how it looks.
Yes.
For real, that's how it looks. But where does that start? And that's of the overwhelm. You can't live in that. Like, you really, and even just like, I've had some magical
Okay, you froze.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. The last I heard was magical.
It's been just a whole ride this week. Like, I've had so many highs and so that I want to go and do, and I want to keep that energy. At the same time, I have learned that in order to be able to do that, I have got to center myself here and at home and at my heart, and that all of those big dreams will never happen with all of my doing if I'm not staying connected, if I'm not serving, tapping into this passion.
Yeah.
As busy and as crazy as it gets out there, it really starts with taking the time to get plugged into your higher power and to yourself.
Absolutely. That's just key. And I'm so glad that you kind of started there, because it really is, it really doesn't matter what we've got on our to-do list, our goal list, our big ass hairy goal, our BHAG, our big ass hairy goal, our small goals. If we don't have our mind, body, and spirit in alignment, and this is where, people will feel disjointed. I've talked about this before. I had the pleasure of having some just top-notch corporate training, one of which was, Ben Franklin time management. And when you look at, the pyramid of time management, and in the bottom is the fundamentals. What is core? What is important to me? And let's just say, well, you say family's important to you. That's the most important. But then you get up the ladder, and on your to-do list, there's nothing that includes family. And I'm just giving a very simple example, whatever it is that's important to you. You can say, it's very important for me to learn an instrument, but if you never take time to practice, guess what? It's not going to happen. But I think that's where people get disjointed when they're on this hamster wheel, or they're feeling roboticized and really doing nothing close to what's in here. And it takes, as you mentioned, it takes being still. For some of us, it's prayer. For some of it's a combination of meditation and prayer. And that doesn't have to be an hour, at a time, or 5 hours like a monk. Right. It can be, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. It can be while you're driving, as you lay in bed, right?
And it looks different for everybody. Like, I love having this conversation with people, especially people that are like, no, I don't meditate, or no, I don't do that. And then we get into that topic and conversation, and like really breaking down, like you're saying, like, what does your day look like? What are your priorities? Where are you spending your time? Well, when we start breaking out and really dive in, most people are meditating.
They are.
Like, they just don't know it. Like, they zone out when they drive. They stand there in their hallway and while they're twirling a ruler in their hand, or it's really that simple. It's just about tuning and then using it to turn on and use it as your superpower.
I love it. Yes. And you've used that term before, superpower. And I really hope if anything, folks who are listening take that away, that we all have that superpower. Being these unduplicatable miracles that we are, it's just tapping into it. And sometimes it just takes being still for a minute to realize, to be aware. And I will say, from my personal experience, the more I have done that through my evolution of spiritual growth, the more the universe shows me. It's like God or universe or spirit will only show you what you're ready for. But when you're aware and you start looking and you start expecting those miracles, I start my day with universe, source, God, show me today that irrevocably, unquestionably, today was a miracle. There was a miracle, so that I will repeat that manifestation the next day. And lo and behold, the universe will do it in small ways and big ways. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely. And I love that, because miracles and that you're going to hear reported on the news. There's something that happened in our everyday lives that we say thank you for. And you're right. I'm power. And it's interesting that it took me back in that conversation to start. It's easy for me now to sit in meditations, and I crave those days that I have like hour-long meditations. But no, honestly, like 4 or 5 years ago, I couldn't be alone in my own house. Like that, like it was either I had a glass of wine in my hand, binge watching Netflix, or I was finding somewhere to distract me, whether it was social media, whether it was a dating app, whether, my girls, they're that I was busying myself with, so that I didn't have to face who this person was, because I had no idea. who
Yes,
this
and it
person
can be
was.
scary. And it can be scary. And I think many of us, I don't think you're alone at all, Jenn, that many of us have either gone through or are going through where we constantly need to distract or numb ourselves, you know, whether it's with, you know, medication, alcohol, you know, all those things lower our vibration. And if you believe that, you know, everything is energy and that we're going to live a better life when we raise our vibration. And that can be as simple, you know, hey, you say, well, I don't take drugs and I don't drink. You can raise your vibration simply by smiling at a stranger or giving back, you know, whatever it is, your gift, giving it back to someone without any expectation of receiving anything back. Dancing for no apparent reason.
My favorite.
Right? I mean, what a great distraction, but that's not really a distraction. That's getting in tune with our mind, body, and spirit in the most beautiful miracle that we are and expressing that.
Yes.
I get chills.
And yoga, like my meditations have rolled into, you know, poses into yoga.
Yes.
And then that rolls suddenly, yeah, then the radio comes on. I mean, I wake up every morning, y'all. This is so funny. I wake up every morning, my is Katy Perry's. Like, I'm like,
what song is it that comes on?
Roar.
What?
Katy Perry, the song Roar.
Oh, Roar.
So,
yes. Yes, love it.
So that is how I start my day.
I love it. I was telling my husband the other day, because he's a musician, and I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. Because, you know, my granddaughter, we have her every weekend. She's 9, and we put on music. And, you know, of course, she loves Michael Jackson. Who doesn't? And then Beat It. It's been in my brain for like 2 weeks. It went on to Billie Jean, but mostly Beat It. And I said, I don't know what's wrong with me, because it's not just when I'm awake. I literally wake up and my brain is doing the song. I said, I don't know if I need some sort of a rhythmic thing to keep my brain cells working. I don't know, but it's driving me nuts.
Message for you. I would kind of go in and dive in and dissect that. Like maybe there's something in that song or how it's written. Yeah, there's a piece replaying for you.
Well, you know, it can be other songs. Of course, Beat It. There's no, you know, mystery why it was, you know, I don't know, the hottest song, you know, and that Thriller album. But I think for me, it has to do with, it's almost meditative, like a rhythm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah. It's so true. You know, an internal rhythm, which is about 7.8 to like 2. And Mother Earth has a rhythm that she beats at, and it's 8. So there is power in connecting. And even I do earthing. Well, now it hasn't, but I mean, at the end of the day, when I take for a walk, I'm standing in the grass, bare, drinking in that moonlight and letting go of my.
Yes, we have my granddaughter do that. And for people who might think this is, what does Heinz say? Woo woo. It's not.
I love it.
Not,
go ahead.
I know, I love it. Woo woo. It's not woo woo. So share with folks about that. I think you called it earthing. You know, it's also called grounding. Share with our audience what that can do for them to raise their vibration and connect them to Mother Earth and help balance, you know, their chakras, which are really just energy fields, guys. It's not woo woo. You know,
it's not.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about really. So as you mentioned, I'm like, I didn't even start out. So I started out in business, and then I was led to massage therapy and the holistic aspect of that through being a mom and researching my body, taking ownership in how I wanted to bring my children into this world. So that, and through learning how amazing our body is.
Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, through visualization, that was all mental, like that's really powerful, how amazing our bodies are.
And it's funny that you were enlightened or kind of like illuminated by when you study, because when you study massage, you study all the body parts, the nerves, everything. And I had a similar experience before I went to Southern California School of Massage. I thought I wanted to be a nurse at one part of, when I grew up. And so I was taking.
Does that ever happen? Do we ever grow up?
I still haven't grown up. Still haven't figured it. No, I figured it out, but the universe said, no, we're going to give you a back injury. You can't be schlepping people around. So, but anyway, I remember, and I talk about this often. I had a professor in anatomy and physiology that would do a 3-hour class with no notes. She was like in her early 20s. I was like, Liz, and I'm taking notes like this, right? And it was not really being raised in a religious home at all, actually more atheist. It was like an eye-opening, like, oh my gosh, everything is so intricate, and this works for that, and just all of the complexity and intricacies of it. I was just like blown away, like, wow, there is a God. There is some superpower to put this body together and make the parasympathetic nervous system, which is basically, think about it, you digest without thinking about it. You don't have to do anything. It just happens. It happens for others better than others. What's that?
And now, the difference and the knowledge that's out there from, I'm sure, when you and I went to, like, what I love is that not only do I have this knowledge and this knowing because path and I'm that in tune, but then I also have this knowledge because there's science now that's backing up what I've known for 35 years.
Right.
So I love the people that are analytical, or like you, that grew up in religion. Now it's like, okay, let's start peeling back those layers, like, that we talked about in school and maybe history class and maybe science. People even know that there's so many elements out there now that they don't fit on a single like sheet of periodic table.
No.
Our science and world is evolving, and what rate.
It's a great time to live. And
yeah.
I tell my granddaughter all the time, where is God? Is he in it? God's right here, baby. Right here. God is you. You are co-creating.
Yes. I didn't listen to a documentary the other day, and something I probably, but I really grasped is our brain of our heart when we're in our mother's womb. Like, our heart starts with a flutter, and that is it. So from this, everything created, our brain, that, so you heart brain connection, literally, that you tap into, and you get those working together.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to change the world. You're going to change the world from here. Mm-hmm. You're going to vibrate at a.
Absolutely. And realize, as you called it, your superpower.
Yes.
Which it's not selective for one person or the other person has it. It just manifests and looks different in each person. And some people have tapped into it and some people haven't, but we all have the capability to tap into it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think and I say getting quiet like it's so easy. Like, that really is the hard part. Where the work comes in is slow and reining in all of those wild thoughts. And I think my power in meditation comes from, it's not quiet up here, like hardly ever.
Oh my gosh, it's not quiet.
Constant too. And it's constant even, you know, in a 15-minute meditation, little bubbles. You know, my thoughts come, okay, it's a bubble, like let it drift off and just pop. And
Yep.
sometimes it's just putting those in bubbles and letting them pop. And then other times it's surreal and I can be in outer and not even going on in my body. So
yes, yeah, that there is when you're almost in a self-hypnotic state. But you know, I like how you say the bubbles, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm doing it wrong. You know, we could do a whole episode just on meditation. Maybe in the future we will. But
absolutely,
you know, people think, oh, I'm doing it wrong. There's thoughts that are coming in. I heard noise, this and that, and that's okay. You just put them in a bubble, or let them roll off your shoulders, or let them explode and immerse, and that's okay. You know, surrender. You know, I've mentioned this book many times. They should give me credits. It's the Ecstasy of Surrender. Was one of the latest, well, actually in the last couple of years, books that I have read. And it just keeps coming and bubbling up, because whether it's meditation or whether it's life, you know, people who have phenomenal lives, it's not because life doesn't happen. It's how they accept it and how they let it, they surrender into it. And then, you know, as I try to teach my adult children, just decide what you're going to do next. It doesn't matter what just happened here. What's the next thing you're going to do? What's the next positive thought you're going to make? But yeah, you know, I think a lot of people are afraid of it because they think, oh, I just can't quiet. And then take someone who has, you know, I have an adult daughter who has challenges with mental illness. And she had sent me, you know, a couple of years ago, this diagram of, you know, someone with, you know, the mental illness that she has, and their thoughts. So if we have, I don't even know what the number is, 650,000, you know, thoughts a day, they have, you know, 10 times that. Yeah, 10 times that to navigate and to manage, you know. So I think all the more important, you know, that it's great that we're stressing about to be still and to let those distractions go by. Something that popped out of my notes that I've used this term before is your brain is lying to you. And I've used that actually with my daughter. It's like your brain is lying to you. And that doesn't have to be only with someone with mental illness. How many times a day does our brain lie to us? Right? With that negative chatter, or that, you know, oh, you can't do it, or you're not good enough, or you're not enough, or you're too big, or you're too little, you're too fat, or you're too skinny, or you're too poor. You know, your brain is lying. Flat out, it's lying.
Yeah. Well, and I call it, and I always say I'm going to write a book on this someday. I've said it forever, is your ego is Satan. And that, coming from a Christian background, truly is what's to me is
the enemy. It's the enemy. Yeah.
The enemy. It's those awful voices sabotaging. It's the limiting beliefs that you allow yourself. And it's so beautiful now to catch myself in those beliefs. Like,
yes.
It's like, I know who I am. I know the woman I am. I know how I show up in this world, but I struggle with that some days. Like this morning, man, I'm exhausted. I just want to sleep in. I don't want to meditate. Okay, fine, I'll do this, but I won't move. And then it's like, and it's like, okay, just freaking move, because you're
girlfriend, I was right there with you. I had to take a BC powder. My head was feeling like I had a headache, and I was really dragging. And I'm like, well, you know what? You got to do this. You got to show up, and that's so important. I think people need to have that message. Show up in your life for you, not for anybody else. For you, and that's where it comes to self-care. We can talk to you about getting a pedicure and, you know, getting enough sleep. That's very important. But other things on self-care, you know, starts at home. But I think the topics we've been, you know, just kind of navigating through are just so much more poignant in the spiritual Everybody knows they need to exercise more, eat better. Okay. All right. So I've got my green drink. Okay. I'm going to be turning. Okay. Here it is, 69 in a few days.
Love it. I love that you're going to be 69. I can't wait.
69 in a few days. I do have my green drinks. This has got a cup of spinach in it, protein powder, glutamine, psyllium husk, lots of good stuff.
Right.
Because if not, I'd probably be passing out at the mic here with my low blood sugar. But you do have to take care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. But I think what we're talking about right at the moment, Jenn, is so important, and that is that self-talk. Get rid of the self-sabotage. If you come from a family, maybe, that was negative and talked negatively about you or put you down, or even worse, abuse, physical or mental, that doesn't serve you anymore. You can reprogram, because that's not what defines you. No. That is not what defines you.
And I think not being able to be alone with myself was a shame, and all that I had from allowing this world to define who I was.
Yes.
Their parameters. I mean, reality, it's just eye-opening. Go down a rabbit hole, but eye-opening when you slow down, when you tune out of the news, the social media.
Yes.
Really just step out and get. That's where my serenity comes.
Stop. That's such a good point, because so many people are, stuck to their, looking at the filtered Instagrams and looking at social media. Nobody shows you I don't show you the junk all over my desk. I don't show you the, whatever. People don't show you their mess or the ugliness. Okay. And so the worst thing you can do is to compare yourself to others. And, I teach people this in business and staging as well. Don't think because, they've got a 10,000 square foot warehouse and do, 300 stages. Is that where you want to be? That may not be your business model. Define what your business model is, because they're not you. They're not you. Right.
And the interesting part is, even on that journey, and I'm sure 69, how many paths have you been on? And you were passionate about all of them. So I truly believe, as long as you're doing things to your purpose and bring out your superpower, those things are going to happen. Like, you're going to bring that into your world.
Yep.
If you want 300 whatever stagings or whatever, if that's what you want, shoot for it now.
Yep.
Be that person that is doing that. Like, show up at whatever time you've got to show up in the morning. You've got to be that.
Absolutely. But I want to interject here that sometimes people, whatever it is, it can be any business. We come from a very competitive world. Okay. And, sometimes even it starts as young as grade school, I've seen my granddaughter come home. Oh, they're having a competition on a picture or something. How can you have a winner or loser on art? But bottom line is, we're from a very competitive society.
Comes in.
Very competitive society. So what I would implore folks to do is to really get still, as Jenn says, and find out what is important to you. Because what many people don't think about is, what is the day in the life of what this goal that I'm setting up? Is that where I want to be? And have a plan for that, because you can make anything work, from any level. But again, everybody's at a different time in their life. They've been through different experiences. They have different needs and desires. They have different things that light them up and don't light them up. And so it really takes doing, I think, some homework on the back end before you just go out there and go, I just want to be the biggest. Why? You got to know your big why.
And yeah. I mean, and that really is the power in your superpower is your passion. Like what is going to light your fire? And that's again, back to the edgy entrepreneur. Why, real estate was on the top of a passion project, that their real estate is that passion, and estate like you is home and adoption and foster care, and how can they serve at the highest level with what they're doing. And no matter what industry, it doesn't matter if you're a room mom. I mean, that was when my girls were room mom. I was at the school. I embraced, I did the yearbook so that I was there taking pictures, but that was my purpose. Like that was where my passion was at that moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All of that. And it's priceless. Like all of these things and all of these paths that I have done, you can look back and they're beautiful, polished stepping stones to today. And they're also
and they're what is, and they're what brings you to where you are today. It's like, my husband and I said, I wouldn't erase and go back and change anything, because I wouldn't be who I am today had I not gone through some other things that at the time I probably thought would kill me,
well, ever, my marriage has fallen apart, and but it's about learning all of that balance, even in all of those trials. You learn how you want to show up in the world, and then you just do it, and you don't make any apologies for it
or excuses, because that's where you get victims. We've all met people that they refuse to take the sheet off their head, and they just want to be a victim. Poor pitiful me. And there's no growth in that modality. You have to have the courage to go, how could I have done that better? Let me look at my responsibility. How could I have done that better? Or how can I do that better in the future? That's how we grow,
Well, and I love it, because I think in finding power, it's not about getting rid of the fear. It's about putting on that cape. It is. It's about putting on that cape and walking in it, and using it as fuel, using it as the wind that's going to help you. Just like you and I talked, before getting on here, both of us, we're like, I have a show, you have a show, and it's like, oh, butterflies, it doesn't matter.
We do. We get butterflies.
Excitement.
Right. And why is that? Because we want to deliver the best. And that excitement, much like athletes, it helps drive the magic, really.
Yes.
Because we do care about giving, Yeah,
absolutely. And that's really all that it is about. And you're down and out, that you should go and serve. And that's a place of, head and quit being a victim. It's you get to give. So then you see that you're not empty, that you are worthy, that you do have something, and that you think there's so much power in can be something for somebody else, and that gets you out of your head and into your heart.
Absolutely.
And I have a little tool that I use for my clients, and it's, write down, like take out a pen, write down where you are today. Like, what time are you getting up? What music are you listening to? What are the people that you're spending? What are you driving? What excuses are you making? Where's your bank? Like a whole list of things. Where are you today? What does your best future self look like? So if you want to show up as that best, what time does your best future self go to bed? Does own the day or let the day own them. You know, what is your best future self driving? What's in the bank account? And live and know that to get from this column where you are today to your best future self is literally a choice that you're making.
Absolutely.
Like,
it's a choice.
It's a boom. I'm showing up as this person, and then you'll be limiting beliefs you really do have.
Exactly. And so that's where it filters out. So we've gone a little bit over. I could go on for another hour with you, my love. We will have to have you back again if you're willing, because I know we would have lots to chat about.
Absolutely.
So self-love, it starts at home. For this Valentine's weekend, and you know, just to punctuate what society says is where we should show up with love, but we're going to show up with love every day in every way. But what are a couple things our folks could do for starting with self-love at home for this weekend?
And it's going to be cold here in Texas. So
yes, that's why I have my leather vest on.
I know. For me, literally, I'm going to the grocery store today and I'm going to get me, you know, some goodies, some
hunker down,
sit by and just, you know, I'm going to take this opportunity to relax and drink in and enjoy peace. So
that's a great idea. I'm in Texas too. Yeah, I'm going to do that too. Some herbal tea.
Yes.
Actually, my mother-in-law is going to be cooking for us tonight. You know, she moved close by, and she's excited to cook us some Chinese New Year food. So we're gonna do that. No cooking for me or for Jeff, I should say, honey. Thank you so much, Jenn. We will definitely talk about having you back. You have been such a joy. I've loved our conversation. And folks who are listening this long, please share the love by sharing this with someone who you think needs to hear it. I think everybody needs to hear it. Give us some comments, even just a hi. It helps those algorithms. And remember to stay positive, stay hopeful, and stay connected. Stay connected with love this weekend. And we love you. Bye.